Welcome to the channel, everybody. I am Aesop Grimm, and this is the intro video for my 5th Chronicle in Elden Ring. This one's going to be going over the zone of Liurnia of the Lakes. I will speak to that a little bit more momentarily, but the primary things that these content briefings are about it's just that. These intro videos are content briefings. I really don't like the idea of people coming into content on my channel with no heads up at all. I'm aware that there are people out there with different sensitivities. Some people are squeamish with blood, for example. I am aware of trigger points and stuff like that. Anyway, I don't think it's a huge deal, but it's something where I'm trying to be nice. And I'm also aware that we have more work from home parents and there's kids in the room and stuff like that. So let's go ahead. This is going to be an abridged version, because we're on the 5th Chronicle. So if you want more details, you can either Google it yourself or you can look up at the intro video on any of my other Elden Ring Chronicle videos. I would actually recommend just going to the first one. That's usually going to be the most thorough content briefing. But without further ado, the official ESRB rating for Elden Ring is M for mature 17 plus. M for mature 17 plus. And why is that? Blood and gore, language, suggestive themes, and violence. Now they have another paragraph here of description of what this game's about and all, but I'll leave that to you to look at one of my other content briefings or look up on the internet yourself. The site that I've been really using as a go-to is commonsensemedia.org. That's commonsensemedia, all one word, .org. And they have it rated at age 15 plus, 4 stars. And their first little blurb up here says, intense fantasy has brutal, bloody, medieval style combat. Again, if you scroll down, there's a section called What Parents Need to Know, and that will give you a more expansive description. There are also community reviews. There are reviews and they're divided too by parents and kids. And kind of a rare occasion on this particular game, the parents and the kids all agree. They have it rated at 12 plus. That's amongst the viewers like you and I who log in and decide to leave a comment and a review. The site's people that actually reviewed it, like Chad Sapia reviewed this, and he rated it at age 15 plus. But the average of all the comments, again, separated by parents and kids, rates it at age 12 plus. That's a little bit rare. Most of the time, kids rate it as a little bit older than what the reviewer said, or excuse me, younger, and parents rate it as a little bit older a lot of times, or at least older than what the kids say. And that would be expected, right? So in this case, we have both of them saying age 12 plus. I think that doesn't happen a lot. Okay, that's going to wrap it up for content briefing. Again, if you want a deeper dive into that, I would really recommend just looking up my first Chronicle, but really any of the other Chronicles for Elden Ring will give you more than what this one did. It's just that I'm on my 5th Chronicle now, so I feel like I've covered it quite a bit. And also, most people out there that are watching this content have played this game themselves by this point in time. So that's the end of the content briefing. I want to mention there's a few things I want to say as a setup for what we're doing with this particular series. Well, not really set up. Anyway, I have 2 things to go over. Number 1, please let me know in the comments if the audio is not loud enough for you or not good in some way, and give me some description. If the audio is good to go, you can also leave me a comment for that. But if nobody comments, I'm just going to assume that the audio is good. I just have noticed that there are some YouTube videos out there I see that seem to be louder than where my video is set. And I'm trying to make things convenient for you guys so that if you're playing this in the background and auto cues to a video not in this playlist, somebody else's channel or something like that, and you get a sudden noise spike because my volume is way lower compared to most of YouTube, I would like to mitigate that for you, but I don't know unless I hear from you. So that's my first request. And then secondly, I want to say that we're on Chronicle 5 here, but really for what I'm doing for this character, it's Chronicle 3. And I'll explain that to you briefly. My first Chronicle was me just dipping my toes into a Dark Souls style game for the first time ever. My second Chronicle was a brand new character from not the first one. I started over again, started a new character, and I started playing Fightin' Cowboys walkthrough guide. For whatever reason, even though he had said it many times, it took a long time for me to finally grasp what he was talking about. He was saying that walkthrough guide is not for your first playthrough. He really strongly recommended that your first playthrough be a blind playthrough because with this particular game, or this game in particular, I should say, nothing was going to replace that first blind experience. And so once I finally grasped that, I stopped my Chronicle where I was following his guide and doing what I call a proof of concept, and I started this character. And so Chronicle number 3 was the beginning of this character, and that's why this is actually the third Chronicle for this character, not the fifth. And the concept I came up with is I decided to have each Chronicle revolve around a zone. Now, that doesn't mean we won't go other places because this game kind of requires that, but the vast majority of the content is going to revolve around us covering that zone for whatever zone that specific Chronicle is dedicated to. So Chronicle number 3, the very first Chronicle for this current character, who is a holy paladin, was about Limgrave. And Chronicle number 2, even though it's technically part of Limgrave, I felt like Stormhill and Stormvale Castle were enough to warrant their own Chronicle. So that's what the second Chronicle was, which is actually titled Chronicle 4. And then this Chronicle, which is the third Chronicle for this character, but it's titled Chronicle 5. It's the fifth overall Chronicle for Elden Ring on my channel, is going to cover Liurnia of the Lakes. And so that's where we're going to go. Now, I don't really have a whole lot more to say. I do have something I want to describe for you and ask for some help on. But as far as what we're doing in this Chronicle, I can't say because I have very little experience with Liurnia of the Lakes. Really, last Chronicle, we started getting into the blind area for me. Now we're definitely deep into the blind area. Now, I have seen some of it because I followed Cowboy's Guide, for example. I've played a little bit of it. I've seen some of it from other YouTubers as I'm looking up builds and people are in different zones. I've watched lore videos because I'm trying to piece together the lore of this game, and so I've seen some things from Liurnia and that. But by and large, it's really kind of comparably speaking from my prior knowledge. It's very, very little that I understand. And so if you see me make mistakes or I don't go somewhere really important or I misunderstand or misinterpret something, that comes with the territory. This is the style of play that I'm presenting to you. It's a blind-like experience. And on that note, I wanted to remind you that the character that I'm building, he's a holy paladin. He's tarnished, right? We know that by now. And he was raised from the dead. And the idea I have is purposely ambiguous. It kind of needs to be because I don't know the lore well enough, but I actually like the mechanic of there being some mystery to our character's past. But he either was in the Golden Order and died in battle, or he had a fall from grace in the Golden Order and was disbarred from it, right? Or barred from it. And then died, randomly some point in time in life. We're not really totally certain, but we know that he's aligned with the Golden Order. And I mentioned that because here's where I want some help. My nephew told me he doesn't want to give me spoilers because he knows that there's a lot that I haven't uncovered in this game, but he did tell me there was, and I don't remember the specific here, guys. There was some kind of reward that I thought fit real well from a role-playing perspective for this story that I'm running with our guy being aligned with the Golden Order, that I think is given by Ronnie the Witch. I think. See, I'm real fuzzy here. And what he was telling me, he gave me a warning. He said, "Be careful how much you do with the Jabari Grapes girl, because it can lock you out from receiving whatever reward that was from Ronnie later on." Now, I did a little bit of research online, and what it seems like is that there is the 2 fingers, that's the Golden Order, but then there's the 3 fingers, and they're aligned with the outer god of chaos. And Ronnie is against the 3 fingers, if I'm understanding it correctly. So you can actually do the 3 fingers quest all the way up until the very last quest, but if you complete that last quest and you become formally aligned with the outer god of chaos and the 3 fingers, then you are locked out from Ronnie. But if I've got all that right, the other thing I understood from that is that that's the only faction you run that risk with. Literally everything else out there you can dabble with and you won't be locked out from anything with Ronnie. So I'm wanting to know, as spoiler free as you can, just aim to be spoiler free. Am I on the right track with that? If I'm somebody who's aligned with the Golden Order and maybe there's some really good rewards like a shield or something that I'm going to want to get, and that's going to be coming from Ronnie, for example. So I definitely don't want to lock myself out with her. That kind of a thing. Am I understanding correctly that if that's the case, I just don't want to go down the full quest line of the 3 fingers, but that's all I have to worry about? Or is there something else I'm missing here? Now, I understand if that's vague and ambiguous, it's that way because I don't know exactly what I'm talking about. So if I'm not making any sense, then I understand that up front. But those of you who've played this game and know what I'm getting into, if I am making sense and you know the answer to that, as best as you can in avoiding spoilers, could you let me know about that? And I do appreciate it. And don't forget about the audio aspect. I'd like to know about that as well. Again, if audio is fine and nobody's got any complaints and I don't see any comments, then that's what I'm going to assume. I'm going to assume we're good to go. And I think that'll wrap it up for a briefing, a content briefing and an intro video. Again, I'm Aesop Grimm. Thank you for coming by this channel, and I hope you like what you saw enough to give the first 1 or 2 episodes a try to see if you like my playstyle. But even if you don't, from one human to another, I hope the best for you and yours. I think that there's nothing new under the sun, but there are different flavors of it, or each era has to experience it for themselves, something like that. But whatever it is, the entire world seems to be kind of have some shared concerns. Some of those concerns I think are fabricated narrative. I don't really believe they're real concerns at all. But you may feel the same way about some of the concerns I have. So what I'm saying is that whatever it is, whoever you are, wherever you're at in the world, and whatever your beliefs are, as one human being to another, in a world where we seem to have some common ground as far as people's concerns with what's going on around them, and the difficulties that we're facing, I hope the best for you and yours, regardless of whether you decide to stay here or not. And I hope everything is that you're doing okay. And for those of you who are going to be back for episode number 1, I will say that I'll see you in that episode where this story begins.